Watch your weight.
Zoti bends double, hands resting briefly on her knees before she wipes sweat from her brow. Huffing to catch her breath, she glances up to you with a bright smile.
If you'll spare me a minute, I'd like to perform a last rite for these poorly departed souls.
She reaches for the lantern on her hip.
Please, Watcher. Without my guidance, they might have a hard time finding the light.
What happens if they can't find the light?
They'll be lost, never making it to hell and back. Or they'll wander and eventually find their way, lifetimes after they should have.
Her jaw takes on a determined set as she straightens, ready to work.
That's supposing they ain't a follower of Aethys. What do you reckon happens to them folks in hell when the god of rebirth is deader than a doornail?
These people had their souls sucked out by Aethys. Their corpses are just empty husks.
That why they're so ashy?
Her nose crinkles. Exactly. Aethys caused a biowhack when he passed through.
So it's not just symbolism in my dreams. I saw my god walking through storms. Didn't know he created them. While I do thank you for shielding my pride, Watcher, I figure it's better to be safe than sorry. So if you don't mind, I'll just do a calling real quick.
I'll allow it.
Mighty kind of you.
She grins happily. With 2 intense strides forward, she unsheathes her sickle and lantern, fluidly swinging each in a series of well-practiced movements. Chanting, whirling, weapons slicing the air, Zoti's voice lilts and falls in an invocation, a summons to any departed lingering in the area.
This here's a final call for all souls. Last stop for the lost. Gather round now, I'll cut you loose and haul you into the light.
Swinging the lantern faster and faster, Zoti plants her thighs wide and then thrusts her arms up high over her head. The lantern rattles in her grip, and the light from within flares blindingly bright. In the silence of your held breath, it almost seems like a soul should sift up from within one of the corpses, quivering in the air before siphoning into the lantern's fading brilliance. No good.
Well, I had to try.
Her triumphant smile ebbs from her face, leaving her expression as drab as the mud smudged on her cheek.
It's my honored duty to reap and shepherd departed souls during their journey to being reborn. With Aethys dead, me and the other reapers gotta gather as many souls as we can. We'll keep them safe until Gon returns to hell and can take them into his divine embrace.
What do you mean?
I'm keeping lost souls. And here.
She taps the metal frame of her lantern.
And that's all I care to say for now. Let's go.
She nods before setting off.
I reap what I sow. It's beyond me.
Hey, that wasn't half bad.
Several men and women appear to be locked inside a cage of some kind. They're a little more than silhouettes behind the glass, pointing and gesturing excitedly.
You out there, are the beasts gone?
One woman comes up to the door, hands pressed against the glass. You can see no means of opening the door from the outside. It appears the cage is locked from within. I took care of the creatures. The woman turns away to have a muffled exchange with the others. Then she pulls at something by the door, and you hear a rattling clank.
Perfetto! We are saved!
A youngish man with bright eyes and a twitching smile claps his hands in joy as he steps out of the cage. The woman next to him, however, remains sober.
Me and the Watcher? We're always happy to help.
She beams at you, eyes filled with pride.
Governor Clario must have sent you to rescue us, no? But you do not look like one of his guards.
She rises onto the balls of her feet and peers behind you, as if searching for someone else. She looks to be only midway into her 30s, though the serious set of her mouth makes her seem older. I'm looking for a friend. Tall, glowing, made of ordra. Maybe you've seen him. An older woman hawks an impressive gob of phlegm onto the ground and kicks a clump of dirt over it. Adair nods in agreement.
I told you the governor does not care about us. This is all about profit. For him and the rest of the Valian.
Caloste!
She silences the others with a sharp look. She turns back to you with a resigned breath.
You are here, and that is what matters.
The Ordra Colossus, where did it go?
Somewhere to the north, I think. By the mercy of all the gods, it must be miles away now. I do not know why, but it seemed drawn to the pillar of luminous Adra we were excavating.
What are you all doing?
Hiding, of course.
The cranky old woman next to him sighs and lays a comforting hand on his arm.
We were taking measurements of the luminous Adra when something strange began happening.
Fascinating. The pillar started to dim, the ground shook, and our instruments showed unusual variations.
That's when those of us with a grain of sense got into the cage.
She glares at the excitable young man, but he doesn't seem to notice. The cage?
Something we made to protect ourselves from surges in the luminous Adra. Those have not been a problem, but I am grateful today for unnecessary precautions.
What happened then?
The Colossus. Some kind of construct made from luminous Adra. It passed through the arena toward the pillar.
Vanessa closes her eyes.
Moments later, the pillar went dark, and all of our colleagues outside the cage froze. Like they turned to ash.
She goes quiet, her hands clasped in front of her. The young man leans forward, his eyes wide with a perverse kind of excitement.
That is when the panthers and worms showed up. Started going through the tents. It was awful, but Engfirth.
Vanessa shoots him a furious look, and he falls silent again. A confused and slightly injured expression crinkles his face.
Some of our people are still missing in the ruins, including Oderisi, our lead researcher. It is possible he managed to hide.
Her furrowed brow, however, suggests otherwise. I'll help him however I can.
Most of the ruins are that way, through the door next to the ramp.
She points to a dark entrance in the eastern wall of the arena.
If you're going below, you should take Engfirth with you.
She turns and motions someone to the front of the group.
Hey, he looks just like...
Adair cuts himself off for reasons not yet apparent. His jaw hangs slack. A sharp-featured elf comes to the fore. As he meets your eyes, he gives you a knowing nod. He's earned a few scars, but you recognize Aloth Corphizer all the same. He taps a finger to his lips, a sly smile working its way across them.
Engfirth knows a great many spells. At first, he even cast fire to chase away the panthers.
Until the flames nearly caught one of the tents.
You're making a really great case for Engfirth.
Outside of this cage, his skills would be a boon. I do not expect the ruins will be any safer. Many of our people remained behind, which has surely attracted more wildlife. It would be prudent to take help, as long as Engfirth is willing to go.
She looks quickly to Aloth. He nods.
I would be happy to assist.
He holds your gaze with wide, expectant eyes. What else can you tell me about Engfirth?
I don't think that's really...
He has only been with us a few weeks. He is inexperienced, but he came with a glowing recommendation from an academy in Selona.
That is surely a generous overstatement.
Aloth chuckles uncomfortably and gives you a meaningful look. A glowing recommendation, you say?
Surely we don't have time for...
A pupil of unnatural talent is the phrase I recall. It seems he was loved and regarded by almost all his instructors, though misunderstood, I gathered, by his fellow students.
I cannot imagine why.
The old animancer rolls her eyes.
Really, this helpful stranger surely has more important things to worry about.
The tips of Aloth's ears are bright red. He glares at you. Impressive. Especially since he doesn't sound Valian.
That's quite a...
Students come from all over the world to study animancy in the republics, especially since it is still forbidden in places like Adir.
But Engfirth's story is especially sad. He was only a boy when both his parents died in a fire.
He came to the Deerwood and lived at the manor of a wealthy older aunt, until she also died. In a fire.
If that's all, then perhaps we should be off.
He raises an eyebrow and stares at you pointedly. I'll gladly accept his help. He gives you a quick smile.
Be careful, I'm Miko.
She gives Aloth's hand a squeeze before backing away.
I shall try.
Aloth nods at her before leading you a short distance away.
Thank you for your discretion. I'm certain you have many questions, but I fear they must wait until we're off this island.
He casts a regretful glance back at Vanessa and the animancers. Your wealthy old aunt? Really?
It seemed like a convenient story. Besides, you do have the oldest soul of anyone I know.
You've made new friends. Animancers, no less.
I shall miss their company, though this only confirms that animancy is a hazardous pursuit at best.
At least tell me what you've been doing here.
That's a rather long story. The short version, for now, is that I'm gathering information on local animancy operations.
He looks you up and down.
But I could ask you the same.
I decided it was time to see the world and find myself. Or whatever part of my soul Iothas took.
Oh, there's never a dull moment with you.
He raises an eyebrow.
We can speak more freely once we're away from Port Mage. For now, let us find Odorisi.
Be careful. The tunnels below may have collapsed.
Do we just go back to work?
We should build more of these cages, I think.
I cannot believe they are all gone.
What a mess.
The copper bowl has tarnished to a dull blue-green. Grime and dust coat the surface in a thin film. At the bottom of the bowl is a shallow, circular depression. You recognize the offering bowl, an artifact found in many Engwithan ruins. it would have been intended for use only by Engwithans who held high rank, or had made some great achievement. In an area such as this, a champion might fulfill that role. You place the champion's medallion into the depression. Here rests Xandros, most virtuous architect.
Poor fools. They were unprepared for this.
Note. I wasn't sure about the constructs at first. These new techniques may be less extreme than those of eccentrics like Galvino, but it gets harder to remember that once the hulking things are moving around like large, noisy, witless dolls. The constructs require daily maintenance, and they make workers uncomfortable. Still, they've been an effective deterrent to the local wildlife. And I have to admit I've started to feel safer with one of them standing nearby while I work. Oderisi despises the things and avoids them if possible. That alone is a considerable benefit.
Hey, watch out.
Yes?
Take that!
Yeah. Arthek, Worthen, Roth. Lobster beyond sink. Arthek, Worthen, Roth.
Yes?
Moss and grime have been scraped clear of large portions of this mural, revealing the vibrant hues of the Engwithan figures beneath. A journal entry by Oderisi. It has been a stroke of unimaginable fortune to find an Audra vein in such pristine condition. The essence is so concentrated here that even from the far side of the corridor, the pillar's light pulses like a star. At times I almost feel as if I can sense it, like the warmth of sunlight upon the skin. We will need to reinforce the central chamber before attempting further excavations. The ruins are unstable, and Seela's motley workforce of savages and paupers grows more fearful by the day. With the assistance of a single watcher, we could trace the essence in the primary vein. and isolate those deposits worthy of extraction. I've petitioned Director Castor in Nekataka for such a resource, but I am continually rebuffed. It is unthinkable that the Valian Trading Company cannot isolate within the vast borders of its considerable influence a single suitable candidate. I must assume that the wretched Alette woman is hoarding them for her fanciful experiments. Transportation, as if we have time to expend on such frivolities.
That's Odorisi.
Frozen mid-stride, this grim figure is turned toward the colossal pillar of Ordra that dominates the chamber. The ashen corpse's outstretched hand rests upon the crystal's surface. Clutched tightly in the remnants of a fist is a bundle of papers, bound together by a leather cord. Several more pages are scattered on the ground at your feet.
Odorisi was always a bit obsessive, but he was a good enough fellow. I hope this was quick, whatever it was.
He leans forward, as if to close the figure's eyes or smooth its features, but merely clasps his hands with a troubled frown. As you pull the papers free, the ashen fingers gripping them slough away, disintegrating into a fine plume of dust. Odorisi's notes, acquired from his corpse, are a dense collection of jargon and diagrams. They allude to mechanical and chemical processes used to treat Ordra while it is refined into powder. These notes would doubtless be of interest to those working directly with luminous Ordra. Standing here by the lone figure, you are struck with a feeling of dread. The air around you, the very motes of ash and dust, all of it is stagnant and still. The feeling grows worse when you look up at the Ordra and sense no energy flowing into its surface. It is as though it has been disconnected from the wheel.
You place your hand against the pillar of luminous Audra. A dim, warm light emanates from the surface, but it feels cool to the touch. Pinpricks dance along your fingers, uncomfortable, but not painful. A woman's voice, scratchy, distant, and halting, echoes in your mind.
Find your soul in him.
You concentrate, peering into the Audra's energy as you would peer into a soul. Its inner light is blinding, but as you become accustomed to it, you perceive the core of the Audra itself, a churning mass of millions of soul fragments. With a jolt, the energy reaches out to you. The Anguithan ruin fragments around you, breaking into incoherent shapes and dissolving to dust, falling into an infinite well of dark gray vapor. Even the ground itself disintegrates into nothingness. All that remains is the murky expanse of the in-between. The Audra pillar, and a skein of golden threads rooted in the pillar that extend far off into the distance. You focus on the threads. You catch glimpses of memories, your memories, mingled among the memories of thousands of other captive souls. The filaments begin to cohere, rapidly twining into a golden cord. With a muffled crack, the cord ripples outward in a violent wave toward the endless distance. The cord undulates over a space so vast that you lose sight of the wave before it finds its end. Then, a heavy creaking, like the sound of mountains shearing under their own weight, washes through the dull gloom of the in-between. A violent force yanks you along the cord at an incredible speed. The murk of the in-between warps erratically, as though you are observing it through an ill-ground lens. Just as quickly as you were pulled forward, you stop, suspended below a massive figure of ancient carved Audra. Like all Audra,
It glimmers with energy, but the souls and memories within it are not flowing down. They churn in a vortex that burns at the heart of the statue's mass in some invisible engine. It is Aethys. The great golden cord terminates in his back, sending pulses of energy throughout his limbs as they move. He walks in long, slow strides toward a brilliant pillar of Audra far in the distance. It shines even more brightly in the in-between than Aethys. From within the teeming throng of souls, dozens of eyes look out to you. Through the cord, their collective anguish and despair push at the edge of your mind.
Help us! Please! Help us!
Their voices echo in your mind. Somewhere within their ranks, you can feel the presence of your own soul slumbering deeper in the gyre. You reach out to the lost souls, but the incredible power flowing through Aethys' body repulses you. Not even your Watcher powers can penetrate the massive tides of energy crashing through him. The souls sense your efforts and attempt to breach the surface of Aethys' body, but are instantly pulled back down into the deep well at the statue's heart, as though they were pried from the edge of a great precipice. Aethys' stride slows and stops. His head slowly pivots until its great burning eyes are cast back along the cord. As his gaze meets yours, you feel an overwhelming rush of incredible joy, mingled with profound sadness. You have sensed similar anguish in lost souls, but never with this intensity. A soothing voice drifts into your mind.
It takes great bravery to venture through the in-between, even for a Watcher.
A swell of admiration radiates out from the god's heart, a force so intense that it momentarily overwhelms you.
You do not need to follow me, for their sake or your own. Something beautiful is coming. Something that will save us all.
A great light shines from Aethys' brow, so bright that even the souls within him flinch from the source, cowering in fear. Through the glare, you see Aethys' massive arm reach up to grasp the golden cord, the tether carrying energy from the Audra pillar to him, that also suspends your consciousness.
What does that mean?
The sun will yet rise, Watcher. You need only wait for its light to come.
Aethys yanks on the golden cord, pulling it from his back. The cord tears into filaments that blacken and dissolve to dust. Without pause, he turns to resume his stride toward the distant pillar of Audra, shining on the boundless horizon. You hear the souls within him cry out for just a moment, before your consciousness is snapped away from them. The in-between goes dark. For a second, you feel a mix of nausea and a sensation like spinning and falling. Then the moment ends. Your consciousness has returned to the Angwithan arena. The world is sideways, the Audra pillar upside down. You flinch at the feeling that you're standing on the ceiling. The disorientation overwhelms you and you collapse to your knees next to the luminous Audra pillar. Previously dim and flickering, the pillar now glows with a strong and steady light. You touch the Audra again, but the chill and prickling sensations you felt before are gone, replaced with a comforting warmth, like the embers of a fire that has just lost its flame.
As you return to the world, you feel a hand on your back.
You all right? Come on, we just got your back.
Despite his tone, you can see genuine concern in Adair's eyes.
The last time I saw you like that, you just suffered an awakening. Is everything all right?
His eyes search your face. I'm not sure. His brow furrows with worry.
I've seen you commune with souls of the dead, but this looked altogether different. What happened?
His gaze flickers to the brightly glowing Ordra. Thousands of suffering souls were trapped within Aothas. I was powerless to help them.
But surely Aothas wouldn't cause such harm on purpose, would he?
He blinks at you and swallows.
I don't believe the god of rebirth wishes souls to suffer. If he's harvesting them, he's got a plan.
Yeah.
Eder punctuates the brief statement with a troubled sigh. He turns away and rubs his beard in thought.
What did Gon say? Is he gonna meet us? What do we do next? He charged you with a divine calling, didn't he? Just like he's done for me.
Alath hums approvingly. I saw more luminous Ordra in his path, but he told me not to follow, that something beautiful is coming.
Then it's a good thing I'm not in the habit of following orders anymore.
He casts a rueful glance at the pillar.
I wonder what he's after, and why he's been giving me these dreams. The things I've seen, they leave a mark on your soul.
She rubs her arms despite the balmy air.
I may not know what Gon's got planned for me, but clearly he wanted me to meet you.
Aloth flashes a quick, pleased glance.